Alright, so I'm gonna not go over that, but what we're gonna do is, we're gonna talk about paperwork, from home etiquette, of course, a proper setup at home office, computer and, internet setup, and we're talking about requirements of safety when it comes to that, internet safety. A lot of people don't think about internet safety when they're working from home, but there's a lot to it, okay? Of course, best practices and for success. That's what we're going to be focusing on in this training. Again, if you have any questions at all, don't be afraid to say something. And this is interactive. So, what percentage of full-time workers are working from home during the COVID-19 lockdown? What do you think? A, B, C, or D?
I think A,
Okay, you're thinking 80%
during COVID, yeah.
during the
C.
look?
I'll say C.
Okay, I heard a C.
I'll say D.
All right, trying to be
Okay.
different. Okay. It's C. It is C.
Really?
That is a lot. Remember, there was a lot of places that weren't closed. Remember, Tennessee was one of the states that did not close. But you did have to have a piece of paper from your employer that stated that you were a necessity, you were essential. Okay? Now, have you ever worked from home before? Anybody here? Nope.
I've done secret shopper.
Well, kind of work from home, right? It's a little different, right? Because you're working for yourself. You're working at home. See, personally myself, I think I could, but I'd rather not work from home. I got way too much stuff around me that would keep my attention. Especially if you have like a new puppy or anything else, or children or whatever, those tend to take a lot of attention, right? And you need to be able to separate yourself. And that's what we're going to be going over as well, right? The top industries during work from home, this is what it is. Of course, this will fluctuate a little bit, but in most cases, it's going to be healthcare. And you're thinking, well, how can you work from home and have healthcare? You're helping people with, say, you work for like CVS, we'll use an example, that you're going to help people set up their, with their doctor to get renewed prescriptions, or their prescriptions, called in, or anything of that form. If they're having issues, like trying to get their prescriptions or such. Or anybody needing home health care aid, as in, I can't get a hold of a nurse, I need a nurse, they contact a number and they help them work out on getting some help from home, of course. And then you've got technology and internet. Then you have financial services, education, retail, and professional services, right? And that's where a lot we were talking about earlier, is that they found when it came to the professional services and stuff, that they found a lot of wasteful spending in people working from home, as they just stayed working from home. And people needing assistance. I've had clients come in saying, I'm having to renew my housing vouchers, and I can't get a hold of anybody because nobody's in the office. And they're not planning to be back in the office for a while. That makes things tough. So what you have to try to find a workaround to get to somebody to be able to help that person get their housing vouchers taken care of, and they don't lose their home or place of living. That's tough. Now, here are some of the top employers in the United States right now that we found. I'm sure there's more, but this is the top ones that we found that work from home jobs that are vetted, all right?
Is that list in here?
It should be listed, everything should be inside here. If not, I can make sure you have
Thank
that
you.
list. Anything on there that stands out to you guys, you ladies? Anything up on the board there, on the slide?
What does that transcribe mean?
Transcribe is, usually they are, like, if a doctor sends in scripts, you transcribe that script, then send it in to, say, like Walgreens and so on. Or hospitals need scripts translated.
What's a TTEC?
That a lot of these I don't know, but I know it's Thomas and Company is one above it. TTC, I think that's like a tech.
I've seen that somewhere.
I think it's a tech organization. You've seen CVS, right? Yeah, Wells Fargo. Just Transcribe Me is a big one. Like I said, that's usually like from, if I'm not incorrect, it's through like hospitals. Transcribing, setting up, making sure things are done that way, right? But there's a lot I've never heard of, GitLab, Affine, GitHub. GitHub is, now that is something I've heard of before, but I'm not really familiar with. But then we're gonna go to Tennessee. As you can see, employers in the state of Tennessee, there's a lot of jobs here that are work from home. And you're thinking, well, if I'm working from home, it's gonna be in Tennessee. Not true. Like Amazon, you may work from home, but you're gonna be helping orders out in California or Oregon or something like that. But you get to work from your own home. Make sense? So a lot of these places there's a lot of opportunities for people to work from home, a lot of legit jobs, and what makes these jobs above beyond the rest is they're vetted. Vetted means that they are legit jobs. Folks, we gotta make sure that we are paying attention if you do apply to work from home job, that it is real. Okay? There's a lot of jobs that are called phishing schemes.
Yeah.
All right? They will steal your identity, steal your information, saying that they're hiring and they're not. Now, I offer, since you're going to be taking this class, if you're interested, let me know and I'll write it on your slip that it's usually every week or so, I get a list from Nashville with vetted jobs that you're welcome. I'll send it via email to you and you can go through and you can look and see what you would like to apply for. A lot of these jobs, I've not seen anything under $18 an hour. Some of them I've seen, they're about up to $86,000, okay, a year or more. All of our jobs are vetted that we offer, we try to help with. Make sure that you are checking and make sure that they are legit jobs. They may sound legit, but they're not. They will steal your identity and steal your information, sell it. Know the ground rules defined by your employer. It's pretty much the same thing as working in an office or in a business, knowing, define what's expected of you, right? What's expected of you, what to do when it comes to your job and how you do your job. You want to make sure you understand the schedule. You want to also make sure you understand the equipment, the Wi-Fi requirements, computer requirements, security and software, and network access information. You have to know what is expected. Now, these companies will train you. So don't go, I don't know hardly about any of that stuff. They do train you, but make sure you know what you're getting into. Like, I'm going to work from home and be a medical transcriber. And if you're not a very good typist, I would not recommend being at home working, scribe. Also, making sure that you understand what your computer holds as well, what they give you or they expect you to have. What is your requirements for your computer or your hardware? This gives you a basic diagram of what a processor, RAM, memory, stuff, and so on, about what is expected and what is needed, because if there are some computers that will not do the job they're requiring, if they have you bring your own PC. Remember, you get paid for that. Now, a lot of them will actually send you, once you're hired, your own PC, modem, routers, monitors, it all, okay? Knowing what you have and also making sure that this is only for work use only. This isn't, I want to play Fortnite, right? That's something we don't want to do on that, okay? So, software requirements. Here's some examples. Anybody here used any of this stuff before?
Yep.
What did you use?
Windows, Apple,
Okay,
Adobe Reader, Norton, McAfee.
all right,
Firefox,
right,
Chrome,
right, Internet Explorer,
yeah.
Stuff like that.
Never used JavaScript though.
Right. Well, JavaScript's going to be for certain. There are going to be certain areas, and that's usually a little different area. If you're not familiar with, they train you on. Okay. Java is more designed around creating documents and doing certain things. But these are a lot of the software requirements and understanding you will have to have, right? If you see, like right in here in this area, this is a video player and such and so on, Apple products. A lot of times, I've not seen anybody that will send Apple products. They're usually, more of the Windows or Android products to your home. Because Apple products are great to be used, but they're a little bit more finicky when you're using Apple computers compared to your phones, right?
Even the phones are finicky.
They can be, right? And also understanding your internet requirements, okay? So this is huge. They will ask you if you have these requirements. You have to have either fiber optic or cable. You cannot have Wi-Fi, straight Wi-Fi, because you need to be hardwired, all right? Hardwired is expected. They usually have it that way, because if it is wireless, the chances of you losing connectivity is going to be high. Okay? Internet is kind of like an ocean wave, right? It will come down, you'll be up high, and all of a sudden you'll notice it's starting to drop, and it go up and down. It's up and down. And you ladies may understand that a little easier by maybe your cell phone. You're outside here, you have 5G. You go up 2 blocks, you're at 4G. And then you notice a couple bars dropping, depends on which building you go in. It's all in how that wave is coming across, right? And you need to make sure that you have that strong connectivity. And that's where they say you need to be directly connected and have a strong internet. Because trust me, how would you feel if you were a client and you're needing to have something fixed and you call the call center and they just get cut off? That's halfway through the conversation, right? That's kind of hard, and it's like, I gotta find out how to get back in touch with that person, right? That's why you have to have this, right? Another huge thing to do is you can do this at home if you have a computer at home or on your cell phone, whatever. It's called a speed test. It's free. You can test the speed of your modem, your internet service, and how fast you upload and download speeds. Now, also researching internet services requirements, of course, is what you would need. You could either go straight off of the modem itself, or you can use a router if it's required. Again, as you can see here, that they're using wireless. That's something that I've never heard of anybody saying, yeah, it's okay, you can be wireless. It is not okay to be wireless. They want you fully hardwired, hard connected to what you're connected to, right? So we're going to watch a little video. Hopefully it'll play nice.
Welcome to Internet Security when you work from home. In this module, you will learn 10 tips for keeping safe online when working away from the office. The presenter for this module will be a KnowBe4 associate, Ruben Kaliks, Vice President of Operations and Information Security at Southern Technologies. The bad guys don't take a day off, and neither should you. Let's get started.
Today, I'm going to share with you 10 things you should keep in mind when setting up to work from home or while actually working from home. Many of the points will refer to internet safety. The bad guys won't stop trying to gain access to your organization's resources just because you are away from the office. In fact, that's when you are more likely to give them what they want. But before I start, I want you to know that it's okay if you have questions or feel a little nervous about working away from the office. It's a natural feeling in times of change, and that's why I'm here. My goal is that by the time that we're done, you will understand the technological requirements when preparing to work from home. Know steps to secure your home for remote work and discover best practices for success while working remotely. Now imagine preparing to work from home. What kind of technology will you need? Will you have the tools you need to be successful? If you don't know the answers, a conversation with your organization's IT team about working from home will help. The first few tips will help you get started on this journey. Tip number 1, start preparing to work from home as soon as possible. Maybe you're starting a job that encourages you to work from home. Perhaps you're prepared for the unexpected chaos that life can bring, like broken plumbing, blizzards, or viral outbreaks. No matter the situation, take steps now to ensure that you have everything in place for that day when you need it. Tip number 2, identify any technology you will need. Some organizations provide devices for you to use, and other organizations expect you to use your own device when you work remotely. Here are some questions to ask that will help you get ready. Will my organization provide a device for me to use? If I have to use my own device, what are the requirements? This includes desktop, laptops, tablets, Windows, items, Mac, storage space, etc. Are there any additional devices I will need? This includes monitors, printers, storage, etc. Is my internet connection fast and stable? Depending on your job function, you will be working with large files or absolutely need an always-on connection. Make sure your internet can handle what your job requires. Who will provide these additional items? Will the organization, or will I have to purchase them on my own? Tip number 3, identify the software you would need. Having the right device to use is great, but without the proper software, there isn't a lot you can accomplish. These are the questions you may need to ask when working away from the office. Is there a software I normally use? What's the process to have it installed on my remote device? Will IT do it, or will I need to install it myself? If my device doesn't support the software I need, what should I do? Is there a special software I need while working remotely? For example, communication software that lets me chat or have virtual meetings with my colleagues since they aren't in the same physical space. Does the organization use cloud-based or locally installed software? In the past, software was installed using physical means, such as a CD or individual devices. Today, many software products are installed using cloud or internet-based services. Alright, so once everything's set up, make sure that everything works as you expect it to work. That way you can resolve any problems before needing to work from home. So you're taking the time to prepare to work from home, now the day has arrived. Let's take a moment to imagine
It's on
what
silent, I
working from home will
promise.
actually be like. Tip number 4, identify and secure your physical workspace. Find a space that allows you to maximize productivity while being comfortable. Remember, you're working, so somewhere with minimal distractions is ideal. Most importantly, make sure you consider physical security. Is there a cabinet or drawer to lock up physical documents or devices when not in use? Am I able to shred important documents when no longer needed? Remember, just because you're working from home doesn't mean you aren't being targeted by cyber criminals. Adopt the clean desk policy. Make sure you secure important work-related items like printed materials or devices when not in use. Tip number 5, keep your work and personal life separate. Imagine you're working on a critical project and you step away to catch the phone. In a flash, your kids are clicking away on every link they can find. Keeping your work and personal life separate is easier said than done when you're working from home, especially when you're doing so because of an unexpected event. From a security standpoint, the more you can, the better. If you're using a work-provided device, don't use it for personal use. Certainly don't install anything that isn't approved. If you're using a personal device, try as much as possible not to mix work and personal use. Don't let anyone use the device that you're using for work. They haven't received the security awareness training that you have and might compromise the device without you knowing. Ask IT for specific guidance on how to do any of this successfully. Tip number 6, make sure your devices are secured. Did you know that the bad guys are often able to gain access to systems because of something that you could have easily prevented? Here are some simple things you can do to avoid becoming a victim. Passwords are important. Use unique passwords. Don't reuse previous passwords or create any that are similar to those you've used before. Whenever possible, use a passphrase, which is a combination of words and spaces of at least 25 characters. It's something that's familiar to you, but very difficult for a bad guy to crack. Make sure all your devices are access protected. You just never know when they may fall into the wrong hands. Depending on the device, this could be a password, a fingerprint, or even facial recognition. If you step away from your device, even for a minute, make sure to lock it. Make sure you have the latest security updates installed in your device. The bad guys have tools that can take advantage of these security holes, so don't make their job easy. Tip number 7, make sure your internet connection is secure. One of the biggest security holes in your home is the internet connection. Do you ever leave your front door unlocked? Would you leave it unlocked if you were going on an extended vacation? Probably not. Yet this is often the case with home internet connections, especially wireless connections. Let's take a look at what you can do to secure your internet connection. Enable security settings on your router. A router is a device from your internet provider that allows you to connect to the internet. Change any default passwords and activate a firewall, which is designated to block unauthorized access while permitting authorized communications. If you don't know how to do this, ask your IT team for help. When possible, connect your device using a wired connection. Physical connections are more difficult to hack than wireless connections. Anytime you're connected to your organization's network, use a VPN or virtual private network. This technology creates a safe internet connection that shields your online activity from the bad guys. When available, add an additional layer of security using multi-factor authentication or MFA. This is a method of validating your identity using 2 or more security mechanisms. For example, your fingerprint along with your username and password. Your IT staff can provide further guidance on using the technologies I mentioned in this tip. Working remotely isn't always about working from the comfort of your home. The next 3 tips will explore various security risks and steps you can take to protect yourself and your organization. Tip number 8, always be cautious of hackers' tricks. Hackers are very creative when it comes to targeting you. They want you to take an action that grants them access to your device and your organization's network. Here are some of their favorite ways to trick you. Social media is a great tool for staying in touch. However, there's a lot of information out there that the bad guys can use to trick you and your coworkers. Be suspicious of all connection requests you receive. Make sure to ask yourself if something needs to be shared before you post it to the world. The method hackers use the most is called phishing. They use emails disguised to look like they're from familiar contacts or organizations you trust. They want you to react without thinking first. They hope to trick you into giving out sensitive information or taking a potentially dangerous action, such as clicking on a link or downloading an infected attachment. They also use spear phishing, which is when they target a particular person or organization via email using a small, focused attack. They invest time into researching you and using social media and other sources of information. The hackers do this so that they can send you an extremely personalized message designed to trick you into taking an action that will put your organization at risk. They will always offer information about the latest crisis in the world. Hackers know humans are naturally curious and are trying to take advantage of you. Keep yourself and your organization safe by making sure you stop, look, and think before taking any sort of action. Tip number 9, stay secure when working remotely from public places. Imagine you're traveling and need to connect to your organization's network. A nearby coffee shop with good reviews and wireless access is where many of us would go. However, connecting to a free Wi-Fi at such a location is not without security risks. The potential security threats you face are much greater when you are away from the office or home. Stay alert of your surroundings by not taking any unnecessary risks. Here are some of the best practices to keep in mind. Keep confidential information private. Don't discuss or work on confidential information where it can be overheard or seen by unauthorized individuals. Only go online when you need to. Keeping your device offline when possible reduces your exposure to cybersecurity risks. Make sure you are connected to the correct Wi-Fi. A favorite trick the bad guys use is to create a fake access point with a name that looks like the real one. They hope you'll connect to it, and then they will be able to see everything you do or type and every website you go to. I've already mentioned VPNs, but this needs to be said again. If you're going to connect to a public Wi-Fi, make sure you're using a VPN while connecting to a network. Tip number 10, know your organization's policies and procedures. The tips and best practices I've shared today are intended to point you in the right direction for staying safe when working from home. However, they cannot provide specific answers to all the questions you'll have. Make sure you check with the appropriate contact within your organization for guidance on any and all policies and procedures you will need to follow. Before we part, I want to extend my sincerest wishes for your success when working remotely. I hope you are more confident and always remember to practice good security behavior.
Let's recap these valuable internet security tips one more time. For preparing to work at home, tip 1, start preparing to work from home as soon as possible. Tip 2, identify any technology you will need. Tip 3, identify the software you will need. While working at home, tip 4, identify and secure your physical workspace. Tip 5, keep your work and personal life separate. Tip 6, make sure your devices are secured. Tip 7, make sure your internet connection is secure. When working remotely, tip 8, always be cautious of hackers' tricks. Tip 9, stay secure when working remotely from public places. Tip 10, know your organization's policies and procedures.
Any questions about any of that? Okay, let's.
Welcome to Internet Security when you work from home. In this module, you will 10 tips for keeping safe online when working away from the
Hopefully it's not
office.
gonna play the same
The
thing.
presenter for this module will be a KnowBe4 associate, Ruben Kaliks, Vice President of Operations and Information Security at Southern Technologies. The bad guys don't take a day off, and neither should you. Let's get started.
Today, I'm going to share with you 10 things you should keep in mind when setting up to work from home or while actually working from home.
Is it the same thing? It's,
Welcome to Internet.
yeah. It's being moody, I apologize, folks.
Welcome to Internet Security when you work from home. In this module, you will learn 10
It's saying the
tips for
same thing
keeping
over
safe.
again.
Yeah.
Stop it, stop it. There we go. Holy smokes, sorry ladies. That just wanted to play the same thing over and over again, didn't it? Okay, so why should you use a wired connection for your internet?
It's less accessible to hackers.
Exactly. It's harder to hack. It's harder to get connected. You know, when you're at home, if you have a computer, hardwire it if you can, because less chances of someone hacking into your computer, or unless you do something to allow them to, right? So we've all seen things like this in our emails, right? Netflix or something. You know, hey, your Netflix account has been hacked or whatever. Go on this website to verify who you are. That's called a phishing scheme, right? That's bad news. What they do is they'll get your information, they'll sell your information. There's a lot of hackers out there, right? Now, also you have different websites. See, secure info, as you can see, there are different things that you're going to be looking for website security. So you can see number 1, number 2, 3, and 4, right? Be careful anytime you're on a site that you're unfamiliar with that asks for what?
Money.
Any personal information.
Anything, well,
Social
depends.
security, credit card,
There you go, stuff like that.
things you'd normally keep private.
Unless you know that site and you know it's legit, do not, because they will get your goods, right? You will lose your stuff, right? What video conferencing platforms have you used before? Anybody use any video?
Zoom.
Zoom, that's a big one. What else? Anybody know of any? There's Google Meet. There's Teams. There's Microsoft Teams. There's quite a few. So if you have to use this software, or you go through any type of, maybe they're going to be, you applied for a job and they want you to be on Zoom or whatever, know how to use it, this technology. It's not hard, it's not difficult. It's on where to download it, how to use it, and be effective on it. And that's something that can be easily trained.
And you can blur your background.
Exactly. You can have it. My background is always, it's like some kind of mad scientist, dungeon or whatever. It's hilarious.
Or there's the ones that put up the big code
Yeah.
and they got enlarged because every time somebody clicks on their code, they get money.
Well, I would hope it's nothing like that. If you're dealing with something like
There
that,
was
I would,
one internet thing that went around saying that.
yeah, I wouldn't join anything that requires people to be clicking on it and making money off of it. But it's really pretty straightforward. As you were talking about Zoom, as you can see how it's set up. Zoom is set up where you can mute yourself, you can stop video, and such and so on. And this is stuff that they can either train you on or you could teach yourself. It's really not difficult. There's a lot of Google, YouTube and stuff will actually teach you how to use these programs effectively. Again, they're not hard. They're very self-explanatory, as you can see on the screen. Now, virtual conferencing, this is something that I don't know if anyone's ever had an interview on virtually. You need to make sure it's the same concept as going through an interview. You want to make sure that your face is in the picture, kind of like I call it a selfie look, and make sure there's nothing around you that is offensive or can keep people's attentions, right? You don't want anything, you don't want anybody movement behind you, you want an office area or an area in your home where there is no distractions from the person talking to you, okay? Yes, there are jobs where it is required that you have your camera on the whole time, right? Unless you're going to lunch or whatever, okay? There are some jobs that do not require a cam to be turned on. So that's fine. You can be in your jammies or whatever, but other than that, they require you to have a camera, right? So mute your microphone when not, responding, right? Minimize your background noises. Make sure that the people around you that are in your home or whatever understand that you are working. Avoid private chats. Like if someone comes in a room and they're asking you questions, you stop and you're looking over and you're talking to them. Trust me, if you're the person calling in and you're seeing all this, how frustrated you're going to get, right? Also, you are being monitored. Trust me, they don't just sit there and let you go at it. They monitor you. Make sure your camera is in frame. As you can see, the negative, the bad, and the plus, the good, right? Make sure your lighting and background, like you were saying, you can set a background up where it's blurred or somewhere where it's not as bad. As long as there's not movement or things that cause, people to lose, track of what they're talking about. Do not multitask. That means do not, looking around, moving stuff, adjusting stuff. Have everything within arm's length. Quick, you can look down, grab, I got it. Don't be distractive, because people see that, right? Virtual office etiquette, right? We're talking about, respect off hours. Now, say you're working for a company and they need you to contact Mr. Smith in California. Right now, it is, 12:40. Make sense? But in California, they're 3 hours behind us. If you say your starting time is 8 a.m. our time, that's 5 a.m. their time. Trust me, you call somebody at 5 a.m. and you get angry because they call you every colorful metaphor and every name under the book, the rainbow, that's on you, right? Knowing and respecting the off hours, right? Be mindful of time zones. Pick the appropriate method of communication. Some people will tell you, do not call me, email me. Email them, don't call them. Okay? You do not need to hear those nasty words, right? And this gives you an idea of the different time zones. Be mindful, because it may not be just the United States. You may call England or another English-speaking country, and you're helping them out, right?
And realize Arizona doesn't change times. They don't have daylight savings.
There you go. Understand that stuff, and you're calling. Don't be a person that it's dinner time in Arizona, and you decide, I'm going to call this person anyway.
Not a good idea.
Nobody likes being called during dinner time, right? Trust me. Knowing the differences, as you can see here on the screen itself, it will show you, when to call and when to email. Here's some examples. Now, we're good there. Now we're going to watch office setup.
Working at home for the short term, the long term, or as an adjunct to working at the office, you want to make your workspace as professional as possible. One reason is your health. It's too easy to injure yourself through bad ergonomic setup. Another reason is efficiency. Having the right equipment and setup will let you be more productive with less stress. Let's start with the setup of your work environment. If you are routinely working from your kitchen table or couch, stop. You'll easily injure yourself. You want a separate workspace, such as a separate home office, a guest room or shed that doubles as a home office, or some nook in your home or porch that you can set up your desk in. If you don't have a desk, you can use a table. Just make sure you have a dedicated place for your computer. Get yourself the equipment you need: a chair, your computer, 1 or 2 monitors, a mouse or trackpad, and a keyboard. You might also want a docking station, a backup drive, a DVD drive, speakers, webcam, or other equipment based on the work you do and what comes with your computer and monitor. It's easy to forget about lighting, but lighting can make or break a workspace. You don't want to work in the dark, as that can cause eye strain. So you want good so you can sit up straight with your forearms parallel to the ground. That way, you don't create awkward posture that can damage your muscles, tendons, or joints. Desk height of 29 inches may be too high or too low depending on your height and build, so you may need to adjust the height for your body. If you can use a keyboard tray, do so. It should also hold your mouse or trackpad. A keyboard tray lowers the top of your keyboard and input device to proper desk height, while letting you use the desk surface for paper-based activities at the proper height. The best keyboard trays also let you tilt the keyboard inward, so you don't need to raise your wrists when using the keys at the back. Your chair should be at a height that lets your forearms be parallel to the floor and the wrists slightly down when typing or mousing when you are sitting up straight. It's preferable to have an adjustable chair so you can get the best height and angle for your body. It's also preferable to have armrests, but be careful. Your arms should just lightly touch the armrests while typing or mousing. Never push your arms into the armrests while working, as that can cause arm and shoulder strain. Your monitor should be positioned so that when you look straight ahead, your eyes are at about 25 to 30% from the top of the screen. This position helps prevent shoulder and neck strain. You may need to use a riser to get that correct height. If you use a laptop as your primary computer, and many of us do these days, don't use it routinely on your work surface. Doing so contorts your shoulders, neck, upper back, and arms in damaging positions. Instead, use an external monitor, keyboard, and mouse to get the proper posture. You can also raise the laptop to use its screen as a monitor if you don't have a separate monitor. Here's a tip. Get a foldable stand you can pack in your luggage or you travel for several days, along with a mouse and keyboard, to raise the laptop screen in a hotel room, conference table, or other temporary workspace. Okay, now you are ready to create the right workspace at home. Make sure you have the equipment you need and an ergonomic setup. That way you can work productively and safely for as long as you want or need.
Any questions on that? Now, has anyone here ever worked in a business or an office setting or anything? And you know what that looks like, right? Or when you're sitting at home, you're sitting at home, you're maybe watching TV and stuff. After a while, your legs get kind of tired or whatever, and you're like, oh, I gotta get up, and you're like, pop, pop, pop,
Yeah.
And stuff. That's the same thing. You're not ergonomically correct, right? Now, you will need to get up and walk around a little bit. Don't be that person that sits there and says, I'd rather be sitting all day long. Trust me, after a while, you'll have issues, back issues, arm issues, neck issues. So you want to make sure, just like they were explaining, is have your office space, everything ergonomically set up for you, okay? Not just ergonomically set up in a sense, but everything is within arm's reach if possible. Like if you need pens, paper, printers, stuff like that, everything is like right here. Make sense? As you can tell, you've been sitting just for a short time. I see you're scooching around because of uncomfortable, right? It's because
Time to move a little.
there you go. The chair may not be as comfortable as you had hoped. You want to make sure your chair is comfortable, your desk is at the right height, right thing, everything. Even if, say, your keyboard, I always recommend a little bit of a tilt on your keyboard if you can. Some keyboards actually have little legs that pop out the back, where you can get your wrists, you're not always down at an angle or whatever, so you don't get carpal tunnel. Carpal tunnel is huge when you work in an office environment, right?
Yep.
Making sure your phones, everything is around you. That is, and also make sure that, like, if it's your cell phone, unless it is required for your business or the company you work for, is off. You're at work. It's time to work. Now, your personal time, your lunch or whatever they give you, you can do it all day long. Now, docking stations, here's another odd thing, is where you can have more than one USB, hooked in, because sometimes you require a headset, so you can plug that in. Docking stations are something that they will provide if they give you that computer. If not, they'll ask you to go. They're not expensive. They're like $9 if that. That allows you to be able to plug in more than one or two things USB wise to your computer. Also, we're talking about the ergonomics, how to set up your workspace. As you can see here, you want your back as, straight up and down. I know a lot of us, we tend to, kind of hunch a little bit when we're sitting. It's a bad habit, right? Something for your feet, to raise your feet up, so which you're not underneath your knees here, the back part of your leg. That tends to rub against this after a while, this chair, and your knees and your legs start going numb. You got to make sure that you move around a little bit. Now, they also make desks that are fully adjustable. If you decide in the future that, you know what, I'm loving what I'm doing, I'm going to spend a little extra money on myself, they actually have mechanically raised and lowering desks where you can stand up and work. And then when you raise it down, you hit a button and it's preset, and it'll drop all the way down, and you can sit back down again. There are a lot of different ways that you can set up your ergonomic, workspace, especially making sure that you're following the steps as you can see on the screen. Because the last thing you need is having issues, physical issues, and medical issues due to how you're set up, right? Work ethics. Now, a lot of people think, well, I'm a good hard worker. What are you talking about? I don't need work ethics, right? Well, it's all about integrity, right? Because remember, you're working from home. You don't have a boss staring over top of you in most cases. You got too much stuff around you. Like I said, I would suck working from home because I have way too much goodies around my house that can keep my attention, right? And I can find other things to do at home. That's why it's nice to get out and go to the office where I'm not bothered by all that, those goodies and stuff around my house, right? Making sure that you are following the ethics rules. Now, also time management. Who here is really good at time management? I thought so. Now, if you'd like, I do train on time management. If you need that training, let me know, and I can have a training on that. I'm going to have a training here or something. Time management is not for everybody, but you have to have that. You have to be good at time management, right? So who here can tell me if multitasking is part of time management? Is that true or false?
True.
I got a true. I heard a false. You said false?
I did.
All right. What do you ladies think? In time management, multitasking is part of time management.
No, you don't want to multitask.
That's another false? What do you think?
She said no, don't multitask.
Right. What's your answer?
Sometimes you can't help it.
Okay.
I don't
Right.
know. Well, the prior video said not a good idea to multitask.
That's
Stay focused at the issue at hand right in front of you.
exactly.
So to
If you
say.
have that option, most jobs, you don't have that option.
But the thing is with time management, it means one thing at one time. Multitask, you're doing multiple things at one time. So the chances of you doing a good job at it is lower and lower and lower, right?
Right.
So you do not want to multitask when you're dealing with time management, okay? The way you look at it is if say you're at home, you need to vacuum, you need to do the dishes, and you need to throw stuff in the washer and dryer. Do you do it all at the same time?
No,
Can you?
no.
No. You do one at a time, right?
Yeah.
So what you'll do is you'll say, okay, I know if I throw it in the washer, get the clothes started, once I'm done with that, I can do the floor, right? And then I go from the floor and then I can do dishes, right? Does that make sense? So what you're doing is you're focused on one thing at one time. You're getting it done. Yeah, because the washer's washing. After it's done, what do you do when you hear that?
Put it in the dryer.
You put it in the dryer, right? So you're stopping what you're doing. You're not still sweeping the floor and mopping the floor while you're throwing things in the dryer, right? You're doing one thing at one time. And that's one thing you have to make sure that you are doing properly. And time management is, again, it is actually a skill. We do train on that. So if you need that training, let me know. We can set up, maybe come out here and do some training. Get dressed. Don't be that person you've seen, I'm sure, on YouTube or whatever, where you have these people they're on the news and they have their nice tie and everything, and they stand up, they're in their undies or they're in their shorts. Don't do that. Don't be that person. Choose your communication channels. Choose your workspace. Schedule your work day. That's huge. That's part of time management, scheduling. Okay? Knowing what needs to be done at what time. Because if you know that you need to wash the clothes and you need to make dinner, but you need to go pick up the kids from soccer practice, you're not going to want to start that dinner early, because why? You're going to burn dinner by the time you get back from soccer practice, right? So you have to set that time. Of course, disconnect. What does that mean?
Let me disconnect from home life versus work life.
Exactly. And that is one of the number one things that everyone wants when it comes from working and home. It's having that work-life balance. That's huge. Disconnect. If it's time to go, it's time for you to be off work, unplug. Get off work. Don't worry about it. Leave it at the door. Trust me. It'll be there waiting for you the next morning, right? And of course, socialize. Spend the time with your friends, your family members, or whoever that makes you happy. That allows you to release all that from the day before, that day, right? Prioritizing, setting, of course, clarifying with your supervisor daily, weekly goals, time blocks, highlight the priority tasks. Make sure to set that. And this is part of the time management trainings that I offer. It teaches you how to be more efficient when it comes to prioritizing. To-do lists. We all do to-do lists, right? Right? Sometimes we get a honey-do list. Sometimes we had something like, I got 10 things I got to do today. Or I just have one thing to do today. Right? We know what's going to need to be done and when it needs to be done. Right? Making sure that you have all that to-do list together. You can use, like you see on the screen here in the top right, you can use Google Calendars, in which you can put it on your phone or anything like that, and it'll alarm you. 2 o'clock today. Need to go get your medications or something, right? Minimize distractions. There's my problem. That's why I couldn't do it, right? Of course, minimize distractions. Don't have your kid hanging on your neck like that, unless you really like that kind of stuff and it's a funny hat. No phones. Stop multitasking. Control the environment, minimize interruptions, and stay away from personal tasks. You do not need to be eating lunch and helping somebody online with their problem. Separate. Now, productivity, knowing when and what time you're supposed to be doing certain things, right? Determine when you're most productive. Some people are night owls. Some people are morning. They're great in the morning. Or some people say, you know what, I cannot do late and I cannot do early. I got to be midday. Knowing what that job requirement and what they offer. Because there's a lot of people say, I'd rather go overnight, do this overnight. Because you know what, I'm up all night. I'm a night owl. I'm not a morning person. So you would try to be scheduled for that night shifts. Dress for success. As you can see there, it's one thing to be in your jammies and your polka dot socks, but remember, a lot of these companies require you to have a camera on. And the last thing you need to do is move or sit up or stand up or something because you get a cramp and you're in your jammies. That's a quick way to get turned. Dress like if you're going to work anywhere else. Right, productivity, again, making sure that, why is it important and take breaks? That's part of time management. Making sure you're scheduling yourself whenever you're supposed to take your breaks and your lunches, and take them if you can. We do understand, a lot of people understand that something happens. You get stuck with a customer or client or someone on the phone and you're a little over. It's expected, but take that break. Even though you're saying, well, I can still go, I'm good. Take that break. That's downtime. Right? Here's a little thing you're talking about, little breaks and stuff to do. Now, what can you do to ensure your work-life balance? That's huge. We just talked about that. Physical, emotional, financial, right? It helps with everything. Environmental, intelligent, occupational, social, and mindful. these are the areas where you need to make sure that you stay focused the best of your ability, because then what it is, you don't get burnout. You don't get tired of what you're doing, and then you become angry and you hate everything around you, and it gets turned on a lot of people you love. Maintain a work-life balance, of course. Again, on your days off, take the days off. Unless requested, hey, can you work on this day, and you choose to. But give yourself that time off, folks. Do not push yourself to the point where you are burning yourself out. Make sure that you have that work-life balance, which you can spend the time to go and talk to your friends, spend time with your families. You know, when you're taking lunch, there's times whenever I get so busy, I have to stop. I put a little sign on my door and I go outside and I'll walk around a little bit. Or I'll walk around inside the store a little bit. Just to step away. You need that mentally. Okay, remote works are typically more productive because of A, B, C, or D.
D.
All right, got a D. Who else?
D.
All right. Everybody agree on D?
Yep.
All right, we're gonna go with D. Here's a little hint. About 98% of the time, anytime you see all the above, it is all the above. Now, there are some tricky ones out there, so don't always watch. That's why I said 98%. Now, what are the most important security measures to have in place when working from home? A, B, C, D, E, or F?
F.
All right, I heard one F. You got everybody saying F? It's E. A, B, and D. Right? You would think it would be all the above, but it is not. It's A, B, and D. That's when you're talking about internet security. Remember, we're saying that, right? Important for security. So, what is the important to consider when setting up your home office environment? A, B, C, D, or E? What do you think? I got an E? You're correct. E on this one. E is correct on this. You want to make sure everything is right, your privacy space. This is your work time. You do not need to be bothered unless something's on fire, right? True or false? It's a 50-50. Improving your work ergonomics, removes risk factors of leading to injuries, allow for improved performance and productivity. Is that true or false? That is very true. That is very true. We talked about that. If you're set up properly, you have the right ergonomics, you will be more productive. And when you get up, yeah, you may have to stand up and go, ooh, pop my back a little bit, but you're not sitting there going, I hate this. All I do is sit around all day. And there we go. Thank you, folks, for attending our work from home. And do anyone have any questions on anything that we've gone over so far? Wow. All right. Well, that's a good thing. So, did you ladies learn anything? You enjoyed it?
Yeah.
There's a lot to it. Again, a lot of this you're thinking to yourself, you're like, this is just common sense stuff. But you'll